Welcome to Inside Gaming, I'm Brian, it's Weekend Roundup time. So, Halo has been in the news and in the larger pop culture recently with the new series releasing on Paramount Plus last month, so that should spark some renewed interest in the series, right? A lot of more people playing Halo, right? Wrong. It's still doing bad, actually even worse than the last time I did a story on Halo Infinite. We don't obviously have exact metrics on player numbers, but the metrics we do have are not looking good. So let's dig into it. Over on Microsoft's most played games page, Halo Infinite has fallen out of the top 10. So really not good. It was, I think, 5 or 6 the last time I checked. It was 157th the last time I checked Steam's most played games. It was 2 spots behind Skyrim, which is really old. And over on Twitch, it was behind Super Mario 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, both really great games, but they came out in the 90s, and Uno, because y'all play that on stream for some reason. I don't know, back in the day we played it with a deck of cards. That's just me, I'm old. But it's getting worse. Some Halo content creators are venting their frustrations about the game and what it is lacking. Rock, Paper, Shotgun talked to a few of them to see why Halo Infinite has dropped off so quickly in terms of players. Remember, it just released in December. I know that seems like a million years ago. It was just a few months ago. Taras Habrinka, aka Late Night Gaming, has been making Halo content for a long time. They said that Infinite's main issue is that it, quote, released with less modes and maps than past titles. So all it has to offer is a slow drip feed of stuff Halo used to have as a default at launch. Kevin Lynch, aka Kevin Cool X, says there's not enough news or content to even make daily videos, and that, quote, we have long periods of nothing. Another content creator, Arash, told Rock, Paper, Shotgun that 343's current plans aren't enough, saying unless we start to see bigger features added, the seasons will just be small upticks that fade away in a month or so. Arash also said that morale is pretty terrible in the Halo content universe and that most of his friends don't even play anymore, quote, and that includes larger Halo YouTubers. A lot of them point to a lack of a signature mode for Halo Infinite, whereas like Halo Reach had Invasion, Halo 4 had Spartan Ops, Halo 5 had Warzone, which brings us to the long-awaited Forge mode. That's the one that lets players create all kinds of custom content. It was supposed to launch with Halo Infinite. Obviously, that didn't happen. Well, 343 did give us an explanation for the delay, saying in a blog post that, quote, it broke our hearts to not be able to launch Forge alongside the rest of Infinite, but to ensure it meets the bar we're setting for it to achieve, this massive overhaul to Forge and Infinite just wasn't able to make it out before the end of last year. They said though, when it does come out, Forge mode will be awesome. They said in the blog, it's very much another generational leap forward in what it will be capable of and brings with it many of the community's highly requested features, which we believe will greatly empower the community to build way more impressive and creative gameplay experiences inside of Infinite. Oh, and speaking of modes that it doesn't have campaign co-op either. It was previously scheduled to launch with Season 2 Lone Wolves on May 3rd, but now it's set for sometime mid-season. But don't worry, Halo Infinite does appear to have a Battle Royale mode in the works. Woo! I was worried that wasn't gonna happen. A Twitter account called Halo Infinite Leaks and News shared screenshots of a mode called BTB Last Spartan Standing. There was a description saying, every Spartan for themselves, level up your loadout by earning personal score to be the last Spartan standing. So yeah, they do have stuff in the works, but they will need to get these modes out sooner rather than later, because as of right now, the impression most people have is that Halo Infinite started out with a bang, but its lack of content quickly caught up with it. Probably not a great idea to not launch with a bunch of modes. I know they were trying to push it out. I know it had been delayed, but that lack of content in 2022 is really going to catch up to you. And again, this is a weird time for Halo Infinite to be trailing off, because typically when you have a crossover piece of media like a streaming series debut, that will usually cause a corresponding surge in interest in whatever the source material is, whether it's a book or like a video game. But we're not seeing that with Halo Infinite, and in the case of the Halo show, it's getting kind of a lukewarm reception, so maybe that's why. It's got a 61 score on Metacritic, along with a 68% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, along with a 58% audience score. Sometimes when you see a low critic score, there's like a corresponding, like a huge audience score. Not the case with Halo. The audience is like, yeah, you critics pretty much nailed it. And they were really mad that Master Chief took his helmet off in the first episode. That didn't help things at all. Pablo Schreiber, who plays Master Chief, addressed some of the disappointed fans in an Instagram post, writing, "For all the, quote, fans rooting against the home team who hated the show before they saw it and disagree with what we are doing, I respect your opinion and I love you too." Well, you put fans in quotes. That's not a very loving thing to do, Pablo, just saying. Because the truth is, we love the same thing, and I will keep working my ass off each and every day to make this show the best version of itself, to bring attention and respect to this Halo universe we love. So, there you go. We'll see. I mean, the problem with Halo Infinite is there's just so many options right now, and that's the problem that a lot of games have. There's just so much other stuff to play. People will go back to, I don't know, Apex, Fortnite, Call of Duty. There's just so many options out there. So they got to fix Halo sooner rather than later because it's really fizzled quickly. All right, on to the rest of the news. Ubisoft is done making new content for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The game's official Twitter account confirmed that March was the final update for the game, but good news, servers for both Breakpoint and Wildlands will continue to be maintained. They thanked players for their support and love for the franchise, adding, "The feedback you've given for Ghost Recon Breakpoint has been instrumental and will help shape the future of the franchise." Now, you might remember that Ubisoft announced in December that it would be adding NFTs to the PC version of Breakpoint. The Breakpoint NFTs, those are in-game items with unique serial numbers on them. That was met with a lot of scorn by gamers, but Ubisoft told GamesIndustry.biz that they would also continue maintaining the game's NFTs. In a message on the Ubisoft Quartz website, it thanks all Ghost Recon Breakpoint players who claim their first digits, that's their term for NFTs, adding, "You own a piece of the game and have left your mark in its history." But we're shutting it down, so enjoy that piece of history, I guess. It added, "Stay tuned for more updates with features to the platform and future drops coming with other games." As for what's next for Ghost Recon Frontline was announced a few months ago for PS5 and PS4, but you might remember it was a massive PvP shooter, kind of battle royale-ish, and we haven't heard much about it since. Kotaku also reported that there is a new Ghost Recon game codenamed Over, which was part of that NVIDIA leak, and that's been in development for more than a year, and it could arrive as early as fiscal year 2023. It hasn't been teased yet, but there you go. That's all we know about it at this point. The studio behind World of Tanks is getting out of Russia. The studio Wargaming says that it will leave both Belarus and Russia effective March 31st, so at this point, they're probably already gone. They wrote that they'd been, quote, "conducting a strategic review of business operations worldwide, and they decided that they will, quote, not own or operate any businesses in Russia and Belarus and will leave both countries." Wargaming said it transferred its live games business in the two countries to Lesta Studio, which is no longer affiliated with the company. It also began closing its Minsk office in Belarus. They wrote the company will not profit from this process either today or going forward. Much to the contrary, we expect to suffer substantial losses as a direct result of this decision. It added, "We'll be providing as much severance and support as possible to our employees affected by this change." They didn't give a reason for this, but it's almost certain this was prompted by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The studio has voiced support for Ukraine repeatedly in the past. They also donated $1 million to the Ukrainian Red Cross, and they fired a creative director for expressing support for the Russian invasion. Wargaming was founded in Minsk, but they moved their headquarters to Cyprus in 2011. In addition to World of Tanks, the studio also makes World of Warships and World of Warplanes, but World of Tanks, according to one survey, it was the most popular game in Russia. So yeah, this is gonna hurt them financially a lot. We heard a little more about the creator of Stardew Valley's next game. Eric Barone, aka ConcernedApe, has been working on a new game called Haunted Chocolatier, in which you run a chocolate shop. We've seen a trailer for it, definitely in the mold of Stardew Valley, but a lot of you're gathering ingredients, you're making chocolate, there's more emphasis on combat. Barone did a live stream recently with Reason Studios where he showed off some music for the game. One clip in particular he called the Bee Boss tune, which sounds like we're gonna fight a bee. Unlike Stardew Valley, it looks like there's going to be boss battles in this new game, so that's pretty cool. Barone was asked whether this was like B as in the letter B or B-E-E, and in response, he played back some buzzy sounds in response, so definitely it's a B. No release date yet on the game. it'll take a while. Work on your backlog first. He takes a while in these things, but they're always good. And speaking of NFTs from that Ubisoft story, the official Formula One NFT game has shut down. I can't believe it. Leaving its NFTs, you guessed it, worthless. The game, known as F1 Delta Time, launched in 2019 and closed up last month, with owner Anna Mocha saying they were unable to renew their license. Oh, and they announced on March 15th that the game would be shutting down. They announced it was going to be shutting down the very next day. Really classy move. The racing game, which was crappy, made some headlines in 2019 after a car in the game sold for more than $100,000. People were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this game. It was nuts. I bet you they wish they had that money back now. The developers did promise the owners of those F1 NFTs that they could have some generic replacement tokens for an entirely different racing game. Good luck with all that. A fool and his money. I'm just saying. All right, time for a 5-second review. It's like Borderlands 3, except it's funny. All right, let's talk about the games coming out next week. First up, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Uncover the truth and delve into a 2D side-scrolling adventure featuring gorgeous art and environments, then battle in fast-paced top-down combat. Customize the Sentinels with an arsenal of mech suit weaponry and fight to defend humanity. Comes to the Switch April 12th. Biota is a 2D Metroidvania action platformer set in a mining colony infected by an alien plague. In Biota, you can choose your hero, fight gruesome monsters, and customize your 8-bit retro experience with swappable 4-color palettes. Comes to PC April 12th. Uragun, take control of a friendly but deadly mech unit, face endless hordes of corrupted machines, gear up and improvise your way out of trouble in this action-packed futuristic top-down shooter. Comes to PC April 12th. Abyss is an atmospheric physics destruction building game. Build structures from parts to let them crash into your targets. Unlock new parts, destroy more. Witness entropy at its worst in digital brutalist cityscapes. Build to destroy. Comes to PC April 14th. Bush Hockey League. Aggressive hockey is back, baby. Experience hockey the way it was meant to be played in this old school arcade style hockey game where blood on the ice is just another day at the rink. Big mustaches, no helmets, dirty hits, bench clearing brawls, goalie fights, and stick fights. That's Bush Hockey League. Comes to Switch April 14th. Cat Cafe Manager. Travel to the sleepy village of Caterwall Way and rebuild your grandmother's cat cafe. Renovate your restaurant, befriend the local cats and townsfolk, forge lasting friendships, unravel catty mysteries, and build a home for dozens of unique felines. Comes to PC and Switch April 14th. Crime Site. Who Done It or Who Will Do It? A new mystery simulation game with player versus player action arrives on the crime scene. In Crime Site, players will face off against each other in a battle of wits. In this clash of good and evil, who can outsmart their opponent and come out on top. Comes to PC April 14th. And last but not least, Tormented Souls. Classic survival horror is back. Inspired by the original Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark series, Tormented Souls modernizes with a fresh twist on the fixed perspective adventure as Carolyn Walker investigates the mysterious disappearance of twin girls in a terrifying mansion turned hospital. Comes to Switch April 14th. That's all the news I got for you this week, guys. I hope you're having a great weekend. Listen to Ship Hits the Fan, and we'll see you soon.